Mrs. M. Priyadarshini, ME MBA, is doing PhD, is currently working as teaching fellow in the Department of IST, Anna University, Chennai. She completed a Master's in Software Engineering from Anna University. She has about 10 years of experience in handling courses for UG and PG. She was serving as Technical Evangelist for Corporate over 4 years in Java Enterprise Technologies, Software Engineering, Databases, OOAD, and Design Patterns. She is proficient in handling IT projects as well into concept development for enterprises. She is doing a research in the area of web services security. Her other areas of interest include software engineering, OOAD, databases, enterprise technologies, and service-oriented architecture. She holds many journal publications and conference proceedings in her research area.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in Computer Science, Java Part 10. So in today's session, we are going to see about object serialization, about arrays and string handling. So first we will look into what is serializing objects. So objects can be represented as a sequence of bytes that includes objects data as well as information about the object's type and type of data stored in the object. Serialized objects are written into the file. Objects retrieved are deserialized and used. So first we will look into what is object serialization. So representing the object in sequence of bytes is said to be serialization. So normally whenever we create an object, if you need to store that particular object in a file, the object could not be directly written into the file. So in that case, we do a process of converting your object into a stream. So stream of bytes. So we have already seen that in all your input and output functionalities, that we have to convert your data in form of streams. So it may be a character stream or it may be a byte stream. So we have seen various input and output classes as well as interfaces which could do this for us. So anyway, we have also seen about object input stream and object output stream, the stream which is capable of handling the objects. So serialization means that you are going to convert your object's data as well as information about the object's type and type of data stored in the object. So we have already seen that whenever you have an object, the object has a state. So state in the sense all the variables in the object. So each of the variables in the object belong to a particular data type. So for that particular, so we have an object in which we have variables like int, float, double. Again there may be an other object. So if at all I want to convert this object into a stream of bytes, I need to represent the object's data. Again the data type of the object, everything should be represented in form of stream and then it has to be transferred across. So for this we have to do serialization process. So whenever I write the contents into a file, it should be serialized. Your object should be serialized and then it should be written into the file. So whenever I take my contents from the file, so in that case I need to deserialize it and then convert that stream of bytes again into object and then only I can use it. So most impressive is that the entire process is JVM independent, meaning an object can be serialized on one platform and deserialized on entirely a different platform. So we know what is platform independent. So we have already seen that Java is a platform independent language, whereas your JVM is platform dependent. So whenever we install the JVM for that particular or that for that corresponding operating system and platform and the architecture will be installed in your system. So your JVM is platform dependent, whereas your Java is platform independent. So whenever I serialize an object, that particular serialization doesn't belong to that particular architecture or particular platform. So it will be serialized as well as deserialized without any dependency with that of your platform. So whenever I serialize my object in one platform, store it, I can again use that particular file and then it can be deserialized from another platform also. So here we have a code snippet which shows how to write an object output stream. So here we have a file output stream. Here we have given a file name and then an object output stream, and this object output stream is in turn connected to your file output stream. So it means that your object output stream, whatever the contents that you put inside your object output stream will be stored inside your particular file. So the contents which I am going to write inside my stream will be directly written into the file. So we have s dot write object. So I am trying to write a particular object. So here it is in double quotes. It means that it is a string. So you know that string is a non-primitive data type, that is nothing but an object. Next is we have s dot write object new date. So new is a keyword which is used in order to create an object. So I am creating an object of date and then I am trying to write that into my stream, and stream again will be written into the file. So and then I am flushing the contents from the stream. So here what happens is I am trying to create a string object and then I am trying to create a date object. So I first write the string object inside my stream and then I write my date object inside my stream. So my object will now be converted into a stream of bytes. So first you will have the string, then after that in my stream I have a date object. So these two objects will be written on your output stream. So whenever I retrieve that particular object, so using my input stream, it should be in the same order because the first object should be retrieved and then the next object should be retrieved. So your serialization process should be proper in order to retrieve the values, because your deserialization is going to again convert that into objects. So your start and end of the object should be concise, then only we can just deserialize it and you can take your objects back. So here how to read from an object output stream. So here the same process, file, we have a file input stream, the same file name, and then I am having an object input stream. Now I am trying to read the object. So I am trying to read the object from the stream. So now the object will be deserialized and it will be converted into string because the first object that we have stored is of type string. So now here a typecast happens and then I am trying to assign that to a particular string, and then next I am reading an object, that object is nothing but date. So I am converting that into date and then I am storing it into a date variable. So you can notice that the order in which I have stored the object should not change while retrieving it. So whenever I retrieve it, the object should be in the same sequence so that I get the entire object as such. So think that I am storing a string first and then I am trying to store an integer object. When I retrieve it, if I retrieve it as an integer object, so I will not be able to deserialize. So deserialized data will not match with that of the typecasting object what you try to typecast. So the only disadvantage what we have in the object file is you should know the sequence in which your object has been written. So normally in cases they use only object file for one particular data type, then only I can just retrieve it without changing the data type. So for example, a list of employees, a list of students, all these I have only one particular data type stored in the stream, so I can use that particular data type and retrieve it. If I store one string, one integer, one date object, so then I should know the sequence in which I have stored it. So next is about marker interface. So interface which doesn't possess any methods but used as a qualifier is said to be a marker interface. Java.io.serializable as a marker interface to qualify an object to be serialized into a stream format. So we have seen what is an interface. So interface will have method declaration. Your class should implement the interface. So marker interface doesn't have any method. So it means that it is used to qualify or it is used to intimate something to the JRE. So now whenever I get a marker interface, it means that this particular class which implements this particular interface is going to be used for this purpose. This is nothing but qualifying. You are trying to qualify an object. This object could be converted into string by implementing an interface called java.io.serializable. So this is available in java.io package. So this once your JRE looks at the serializable interface, so it could identify that this object could be serialized as well as it could be deserialized. So whenever I use an object output stream or object input stream, the objects I write and read should always be implementing a serializable interface. Otherwise, it's not possible for you to read and write the objects through your stream. So here is a sample program. You can see that we have imported java.io.serializable. You have the class which implements the serializable interface. As already told you that you don't have any methods in that, we need not implement any methods. So I have a string, I have an int and double. So you can notice that these are primitive data types and not objects. So public, I am creating an object, that is, this is nothing but my constructor. So this dot name, this represents the current object. I am trying to assign all the values. Then we have a method, public string, toString method. So this toString method will return all these entire object state, that is, name is equal to whatever name that you have assigned, age is equal to whatever the age you have assigned, and the salary. So now you can see that I have created an employee class which implements the serializable interface. So whenever I try to create an object of employee, this could be stored and retrieved in form of objects, that is, in the objects could be serialized and deserialized. So here I have a main, and then now I am creating an employee object. So this employee object is created, and then I am trying to store that inside a file. So I have opened a file output stream, and then I have opened an object output stream. So now this serial is the file name in which we are going to store the serialized employee object. So now I am writing write object. So write object method is available in your stream. So I am giving write object and then your object name, and then I am flushing the stream, and then I am closing the stream. So next is your deserialization. So once I store that, I am trying to retrieve that contents back. This is your file input stream, then your object input stream, then your object. So here you can notice that your object input stream, I am reading the object and typecasting it to the employee. So this object stream could be used only when you know what type of object is stored. So then I am calling the toString method. So we have implemented the toString method in which it will print all the state of your objects. So and then whenever you have an exception, here exception could be raised during your serialization process or your deserialization process. So next we will look into what is array. So an array is a structure that holds more than one value of same type and defined size which is specified at the time of initialization. So we already know that the array can hold contiguous memory allocation. So whenever I have an array of 10 integers, so it means that all the 10 integers will be contiguously allocated in the memory. So I could access that particular array in using the index. So the same process in your Java also, your array data structure. So the structure of your array is nothing but contiguous allocation of memory for a particular type of array that we are trying to create. The disadvantage of your array is whenever you initialize the array, so whenever you declare the array as well as you allocate the memory, you will allocate the maximum size your array can hold. So which could not be increased, or which array values could not be appended meanwhile while you execute your program or at any later point of time. During your initialization, whatever the value number of elements that you have initialized will be used till the end of your program execution. So you cannot add some contents in your array. So here you are declaring a variable to refer to an array. So here you can see that you have an integer array. So this is just a declaration of array of integers. So like declaration for variables of other types, an array declaration also has two components. One is the array's type and the array's name. So first I will specify the data type and then the name of the array. So normally whenever you declare an array in other programming language like your C and C++, whenever we do the declaration itself, your memory will be allocated, whereas with respect to Java, declaration is separate and your memory allocation is separate. So whenever I declare, it doesn't mean the memory is being allocated. So again I have to allocate the memory for that particular type of array. So declaration is my first process, then allocation of memory is my second process. So with this we will have a short break and continue about arrays in your forthcoming Now we'll start discussing about how to create your array. So here creating an array explicitly uses Java's new operator. The following statement allocates an array with enough memory of 10 integer elements. So you can see that initially we have declared an array. This is an array of integers. Now I am trying to specify, I am going to allocate maximum 10 integers in this particular array. So whenever I do this, it means that whenever I use new, it means that I am allocating the memory, whereas here I have done only the declaration that an array of this type will be created. So here just I am trying to allocate the memory. So on allocating the memory, you can see that the memory will be allocated, and then you can initialize the values for that. So here is a sample. So we have double, we have a double array. So I have maximum size to be 5. So I can assign the value. So since I have given new here, the memory will be allocated for 5 double values. So first I am giving an index, or you can say that a subscript. So here 0, for which I am allocating I am assigning a value, and again I have another value. So I can create an array or initialize an array using these statements, whereas I can declare and allocate memory using this statement. Or else what I can do is I can just give, so already I have declared it, instead of memory allocation directly I can assign some values. This will in turn allocate the memory. So if I use this statement, automatically your values will be initialized as your memory will also be allocated. So you can see that my array is nothing but the reference variable. So this is your index. So whenever I want to access it, I will start from 0. So 0 is the starting index for your array. So the values will be stored and you can access it with respect to any index. So here is a sample program. So we have an array demo program. So here you are declaring an array of integer. So next I am trying to create an array of integer. So memory allocation will happen now. So in array we have a variable called length. So this length will give the maximum number of elements allocated in my array. So this doesn't give you how many number of, so for example I have 10 elements, I have maximum specified, I will have 10 elements in my array, but I have only given values for 3 elements, whereas all the other elements I have not assigned some values. So in that case my length will always be 10. So it will not show the maximum elements that you have stored, but it will show maximum elements that you have declared and allocated. So here we are initializing to 0, I to 0, and then checking whether it's less than your length. So since your subscript starts with, your index or subscript starts with 0, so length, so for example here we have 9 as the maximum size, whereas your array dot length will be 10, and then less than, it means that 0 to 9 values will be read and it will be used in your program. So here you can see that this I value is assigned to that. So your index value as well as the value that you are trying to store will be same here, and then I am trying to print the value that has been assigned to the array. So the array what we have seen here is an integer array. So already I told you that int is a primitive data type. So whereas here we have string. So string is a class. So I am creating an array of strings. So it means that my objects need to be created, the memory for that object need to be allocated, and then I am trying to create an array of objects. So here array of strings means that we have an array of objects. So here the same way we have declared a string of array and then I have directly assigned the values. So whenever I have a string value within double quotes, it means that a memory will be allocated for string. So here we have 3 strings. So the maximum size of the array will automatically be set to 3. So we have not specified the maximum limit or maximum size of your array, whereas here since we have given 3 string, automatically the maximum size will be set to 3. So then once I print it, my array length will automatically be 3 and then I will print 3 variables. So here I have a method called toLowerCase which will convert the elements in my string into lowercase and it will print. Whereas here you can see that we have array of arrays. So already we have seen string array. So now I have an array of arrays. So a string array and then next I have another string array, I have another string array and string array. So here we have 4 string arrays. So this 4 string arrays is again an array. So this is a 2-dimensional array. So in this 2-dimensional array, so 0, whenever I specify cartoons of 0, 0, so your first element of your first array will be taken into consideration, whereas if I give 0, 1, the first array's second value will be considered. So similarly, we can access all these array. So you can see this. So this I value here is 0 initially. So 0, 0 will be taken into consideration. Next, I change the value of my j to 1 to till length of this array. So whenever I give my array value and then my subscript, so automatically it will take the first array. So and then next array and then next array. So here I will have 4 j values. So next is a sample program for handling string. So here we have a program in which we are trying to have various types of string declarations, string variable declarations and how the memory has been allocated. So you can see here we have created a string and directly assigned a value to it, string 1 and string 3. So here both the string 1 and string 3 is having the same value. So what happens is whenever a memory is allocated to value hello, so it's given a variable name of str1. Again, if the same value is there and a memory need to be allocated, so in that case the memory will not be allocated and the variable is going to point the same value. So same memory that has been allocated. So you can see that string 1 and string 3 is pointing to the same value. So here string 4 we have assigned a value high and then automatically another new string memory is allocated. A memory is allocated for the string variable and it's assigned, and then I am having a new str2 where I am allocating a memory. Here we have a new operator and then I am trying to create a string with the same value. But in this case what happens is a new memory will be allocated and then it will be assigned with a variable str2. So whereas here both the values as well as the memory remains the same for both str1 and str3, whereas here we have a new memory being allocated, the value being stored and a new name str2 is being given. Next we can see here str5 and then I am trying to create a new string variable with the same value. Again a memory will be allocated and this value is given with the variable name str5. So now I am trying to print str1 and then I am trying to print str2 here. So my str1 is having a value hello and my str2 is having a value hello, whereas the objects are different. str1 and str2 object is different. So if I am trying to check whether str1 object and str2 objects are equal, so in that case it will not be equal. Whereas if I am trying to check whether the values of your string 1 and string 2 are equal, so then the values will be equal. So this means that your value is equal, whereas here it means that your object is not the same object. So this is for comparing your object and this is for comparing your value. So here we will look into few methods of the string. So char at, so it means that in a particular string on that particular index the character will be written. So here I am trying to compare one string with that of the other string and it gives an integer as a return. So whether the string value which I am trying to compare, so for example I have an str1 and then I give str1 dot compare to another string. So based on the comparison an integer value will be given as a result. Here I will try to concat one string with that of the other string. So all these methods are there in the string class. So always there will be left hand side you will have a string and then left hand side you will have a string and then right hand side you will have a string, that is which is given as the parameter. So next we have a method called equal. So whenever we use an equals method, so one particular string object will be compared with another particular string object. So in that case, it will check whether your particular object and the other object's values are same. So equals ignore case is a method which will check whether the string with the other string, but it ignores all the case. So for example, if I have given a string in an uppercase and I have given the other string in the lower case, but the characters are same, so automatically you will see that both of them will be equal. So next we have a method called length, which returns length of the string and then starts with. So this will test if the string starts with the specified prefix. So we also have substring. We give the beginning index, returns a new string that is substring of the string. So beginning from the index till the end of the string you will have. So for example, I have welcome. So if I give 2 to be the index, so I will have it will take 2 as the beginning index until end of the string it will try to print the value. Whereas even I can have a substring which is in the middle. So I can give the beginning index and then I also can give the end index also. So substring, beginning index and then your end index. So this returns a new string that is substring of this string. So I can trim my string. So returns a copy of the string with leading and trailing, white space has been omitted. So next is even I can have value of. So I can have any primitive data type as the parameter and then I give value of. So this will return the string representation of the passed data type as the argument. So it means that if I am passing an int, so the string representation of int. If I am passing it as float, the string representation of the float will be returned as the response. So here you can say string is immutable. So what is immutable? When you have a reference to an instance of an object, the contents of that instance cannot be altered. So whenever I am having a reference to an object, the contents of the object could not be altered provided if it is of type string. So you can see here, I have a string s is equal to hi and I am trying to concatenate s with that of a new string how are you. So in this case what happens, this s could not be updated. So one memory will be allocated for this s and then if I am trying to append it, so here append is not possible, I cannot alter this content. So automatically what happens, a new string with the new contents, that is a new string with hi how are you will be created. So it means that we are creating 2 objects. So how many objects will be created in the above case? 2 objects will be created, one for this string and then since I am changing a value, this value could not be altered provided if it is a string. So in that case a new object will be created. So next is string buffer. String buffer is mutable and append method can be used to concatenate the string. So in this case you can see that I am having a new string buffer and then I am trying to append it. So in this case only one object of your string buffer will be created. So string is immutable whereas string buffer is mutable. So in this session we have seen about what is object. So if at all we need to write an object, it need to be serialized. What is deserialization? And we have seen about creation and usage of arrays and about string handling. So from this session we could be able to answer all these questions. What is a serializable, how to create an array, and we can also list out various methods in the string class. So in the forthcoming session we will be having a look on what are all the various util classes that are available, your collections frameworks and etc. Thank you.